Hi, my name is Debra Wallace, and I am the mom of an 11-year-old son with autism. I'm also an author, a journalist, a blogger, a social media content provider, and a lot of other things. But of all the things that I do in my life, the most challenging and the most rewarding and joyous is taking care of my 11-year-old son, Adam. Parenting, as I like to tell people, is difficult. It's fun, it's exciting. There's just a lot that goes on into being a mom. Special needs parenting is sort of parenting on steroids, if you want to make a joke out of it, which I don't usually do. I'm here today to talk about being a special needs parent. I'm a loving mom. I would do anything for my child. My child is my heart. But sometimes we go places like the mall or Target or Walmart or the grocery store or things that are typical, and it's not so successful. So I have a mommy bag, my Miraculous Mommy Bag, and I've had it ever since my son was very little. And in my bag is a couple things that you would expect, like Cheerios or juice or water or treats. But there's also a few um, one of the surprises that's in my bag is a little bag of cotton balls, and I try not to leave home without it. A lot of children with autism have sensory processing issues, sensory overload. They can hear a fire truck or a siren or a horn or something blocks before you and I would hear it. So these cotton balls, or you could use some headphones or earplugs, but we like cotton balls because they're nice and soft. And when we get to the circus or a Broadway show or anything that tends to be very, very loud, I'll turn to my son 10 minutes before showtime and say, is this show too loud for you? And if he says yes, we'll put the cotton balls in his ears. If he acclimates, sometimes we take them out. We try not to lose them. Um, Even something as simple as a cotton ball dropping out of his ear can become a really, really big deal. The other day, my son was at school and he lost his favorite winter hat, his penguin hat. A typical child walks in the door and says, Mommy, I lost my hat. And you say, okay, sweetie, I have another hat, or we'll go to school, or we'll find it, or whatever. My son was very, very upset. I tried to calm him down. He had a little bit of some sadness, but this time I said, you know what? I'm going to do everything I can to get this hat back. So I emailed his teachers and I called the school, and thank goodness we were able to get the hat. So then, as a special needs parent, you have to decide, do I tell him that's life? Sometimes things get lost or broken and they can't be fixed, and you just have to cope with it. Or am I the protective helicopter mom that says we're going to do everything possible in our power to get that darn hat back because you want your child to be happy? And so it also in this bag reminds me of one of my favorite movies, One Fine Day. Michelle Pfeiffer and George Clooney are running around town, and she keeps pulling out toys and clothes and galoshes and raincoats and food and snacks. And my bag isn't quite that big or quite that comprehensive, but it's got a few other things. We like to take Cheerios, small chocolate chip cookies, and other snacks. You'd be surprised how many places you can't get apple juice. And the Jersey Shore, they do not sell apple juice, and my son drinks apple juice and water, not lemonade, not soda, not iced tea, apple juice and water. So the more specific your child or grandchild or loved one with autism or special needs is, the more you have to prepare, because you really don't want to be in Ocean City for a day or a week without apple juice and have your child keep moaning and groaning, I need my apple juice. So being prepared, being patient, having a support system. I have wonderful family, a mom, sisters, brother-in-law, nephew. They live far away. So I have 5 friends who I could call at a moment's notice if something happened to me, and they would step up and they would be there and they would care about my son and they would care about me. And if you don't have that in your life, I'm not sure where you find that. It's definitely not in my bag, but it's important. And I would reach out to support groups, autism support groups, local, national. Um, and groups of people who share like ideas. Going to a Halloween hayride or a party with my son and being there with typical parents, but also parents who have children with autism is a big deal, because if your son is having an off moment or doesn't like the pumpkins in the pumpkin patch or is just having a problem, you can look to that other mother and say, can I just have a break? Can I go to the bathroom? Can I go to the car and refill my mommy bag? So support is very, very, very important. As a mom, my child is my heart. And most moms feel that way. They just want their children to thrive and excel and do well in sports or gymnastics or school or arts and crafts or theater, whatever their child is involved in. And we do have some specialty things that my son Adam and I are very excited about. Adam goes to a therapeutic horseback riding class once a week, and he goes to a local Autism Cares Foundation fitness program once a week. And it's very, very important for any child not to sit on the iPad or whatever device they're attached to 24/7. So, and when you say to a typical child, let's go out, let's take a walk, let's take a run, let's take the dog out, the typical child may say, I don't want to, but you can convince them in a very short amount of time. With children with autism, no is the first word out of the mouth. Unless you're offering pizza, chocolate chip cookies, or a trip on the roller coaster, it's going to be no. And it's going to be no, and it's going to be no. You could offer them a toy, and if it's not the toy they have in mind, it's going to be no. And so how much do you break that down? How much do you push and push and push? For a long time, we did not go to the mall. We did not go to Target or the grocery store or Walmart. But then we had a behaviorist who came into our house and said, you need a plan. So we write it down and we discuss it and we go over it verbally and on the piece of paper several times. We arrive at the store and we have a list: toothpaste, deodorant, paper towels, eggs, Cheerios, toy or movie or whatever the preferred item has to come last. Because with my son, we'll just go in, we'll get the toy, and he'll say, all right, I'm good. We don't need the other stuff. So you go and you check it off the list and you repeat it a few times: toothpaste, eggs, deodorant, paper towels, whatever order it is. And at the end, you have to get the toy because you've promised the toy, but then you have to push a little harder because my son likes to collect things. So 1 toy is good, 2 is better, 3 is even better. And so I've had to learn as he's gotten older and he's gotten more insistent and will embarrass me in a full grocery store or Target or Walmart. I've had to say, you know what, we don't need the toothpaste and the paper towels and the deodorant that much. So why don't we just leave and we won't get anything, or we'll just get what we plan to get, which includes the 1 toy. So sometimes you have to be a little bit of a tough guy, and that is definitely not something that I'm good at or that I enjoy, but it's definitely helping with my son. I think that one of the major things about my child and a lot of children with autism is surprises, transitions, the unexpected are very, very difficult. So if you're going to have a play date or have a friend come over and they get sick or something comes up, that's very, very hard for them. So you have to kind of weigh and measure. You want them to get excited about it and know that it's going to happen, but you also don't want to tell him 3 weeks in advance that you're going on vacation, because he'll ask every day, are we going? Are we going? Are we going? And so calendars are good. Planning is good. Lists are good. Anything that you can do to help with the transition. I think that nobody is really prepared for parenthood, no matter how many books they read. You read what to expect when you're expecting, and then you bring home this child and, the doctor visits and the colic and the ear infections. My son had a lot of issues when he was younger, and it's just difficult, but it never became something where I wasn't going to seek out therapies. My son has speech therapy. He has physical therapy. He has occupational therapy. He has support in the classroom. He has support at home. And I just believe in front loading all of this to help our children. If you had a child who was musically gifted, if you had a child in the gifted or talented program in math and science, and if you have a child who's on the autism spectrum and needs some extra help with reading. Sorry about that. I'm new at this. You hope you'll forgive me. Unknown caller interrupted. So I think that, you know, we do everything for our children, and as the mom of a son with autism, that can be difficult. We got a birthday invitation today, and my son wasn't sure that he wanted to go bowling or he wanted to go to this party at this time. And I said to him, you know what? We don't get that many birthday invitations. I'd like to go to this, and you're good at bowling. And he went with his class a week ago, and he said, well, I didn't get it all the pins down, and I didn't do as well as I wanted. And I said, well, the more you do it, the better you'll get at it. So we're going to go to the bowling party. And some of the times that I find most difficult, that you really have to have a plan, is during outings, how many toys he can bring, if he can use my phone. Again, we have our apple juice, we have our water, we have our snacks, we have our things that we can bring with us, but you just want everything to go as smoothly as possible. So we plan. And vacations, if I let my son go on vacation and bring 50 toys, he'd be very happy. So I try to limit things to 5 or 10, and putting limits is important for any child, but I'm learning that without the limits, my son just feels like, you know, he can make a lot of demands, and then at what point do I fold, or what point do I get frustrated? You can find any mild-mannered mother or father of a child with autism or any special needs or developmental disability just look like an absolute lunatic in the parking lot of a store or a mall or whatever, because they're frustrated, and frustration tends to lead to anger and problems. And so again, this bag is a symbol for being prepared. Try not to rush out of the house. You know, you want every child to go to the bathroom before they go somewhere. Well, you know, my child, I make sure that he has everything that he needs, that his shoes are tied, and there's a balance. At one point, I was dressing him, you know, at 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, which a typical parent wouldn't do. And then friends said to me, let him cut with a knife, even if it's a butter knife. Let him dress himself. Let him give his own bath. He can always say, Mom, I need your help, but let him be as independent as he can, because that'll help him later in life. So there's a lot to consider, but, you know, 1 in 68 children is diagnosed with autism. 1 in 68 school-age children currently in the United States has some kind of autism or autism spectrum disorder. So that means that every grandmother or aunt or uncle or parent or neighbor or cousin is involved, is caring and concerned, and we want to help our children. And that's the bottom line. So you can put anything you want in your mommy or daddy bag. It's just a symbol of being prepared, you know, with the cotton balls and the snacks, maybe a change of clothes. You just don't want to be somewhere and your child tips over the water pitcher and he's upset and he's frazzled and he's having a meltdown and you're embarrassed and you have to go home. So you can pull out whatever you need, you know, some wipes or, you know, a small towel or change the clothes. Everybody will be happier, and you'll be able to stay on the even keel. I've got a couple messages here. I'll try to answer them. Let's see what we have. What support groups or foundations have worked best for you? Thanks so much. And do you find that your son can let you know what he wants in your bag before you go out? Okay. Okay. There's a lot of organizations. I think you can go online and Google or use whatever provider, but locally in suburban Philadelphia, my group is called the Autism Cares Foundation. www.autismcaresfoundation.org. It's a nonprofit. We have a lot of activities for kids, little kids, teenagers, adults, and there aren't really that many support groups, but other moms and other parents find each other. And yes, my son does tell me what he needs in the bag, and I definitely look to him for help with that. Let's see if we have another one here. That's not letting me. Go. Do you find your son can let you know what he wants in the bag? Yep. Okay. Let's go back. Yes, he will let me know. I mean, right now he likes to use my telephone. So we gotta, I gotta make sure I get my calls and my life's in order. But he's big on cell phones, like all kids. So I put in a few apps and I let him use it. But it's not the end of the world if we don't have apple juice. He can drink water, but because he does have some allergies, he's allergic to soy protein and some other snacks. I don't want to have to stop at the local store and pick up Cheerios or whatever I need. So yeah, we definitely pack the bag together sometimes in terms of toys and little toys. And at some point you don't want to have the bag. At some point you wish your child could be weaned, and maybe you can take one or two toys. We used to take his small 9 or 10-inch DVD player everywhere we went, and have 2 or 3 or 4 or one DVD, whatever, and he would watch it. And people said, he's not making eye contact, he's not connecting with you. See if you can leave the DVD player at home. So, and you could leave the bag in the car, and if you don't necessarily need it, but it's definitely easier. I find that I make a mess at the restaurant if I don't have the juice in the water, because you're getting water with ice in it and you're mixing it. We do 60-40 or 70-30, so he's not getting all that sugar with the juice. So whatever you can do to be prepared. I like to go out to dinner and maybe have, he's too old for a sippy cup, but like a cup with a lid, so then I can have the juice there and just pop it out. We've gone to a couple theme parks and a couple places that asked for a doctor's note to be able to bring in the apple juice, which I thought was a little ridiculous, but you get used to that kind of thing. And then you pick your battles, and they made me put my water away at one theme park, and then I walked in and spent $20 on bottled water. But we had a really good time, and it was a fun day. So theme parks are a discussion for a whole other day. They take a lot of planning in terms of how many rides he can get on and how, and avoiding meltdowns and all the sensory overload. And 1 minute things can be too loud, so a lot of children don't like theme parks. My son could ride the roller coaster for a whole weekend and not stop for much besides dinner and snacks. So I'm going to see if I have one more question here. I think that's it right now. Again, patience, planning, the whole bag is about that. And try to have a sense of humor about this. If you're going to freak out on the day that you reach into the bag and there is an apple juice, you can buy water on every corner, and you can probably buy a lot of the stuff that's in my bag. It just makes us feel prepared, makes us feel ready. You don't want to send your child out in a blizzard, with a light sweatshirt. And so just having some extra clothes in the car, appropriate clothes. If you buy that penguin hat, and that penguin hat is the best thing that he's ever had, and he's wearing it to school every day, and it's possible and not too expensive, buy a second penguin hat. I did that when he was a baby. We bought this little toy, this little worm, stuffed worm named Wormy, very original, very colorful, and he had a little rattle in it. And when I went to buy it, I said, I'm buying 2 or 3 of these. We will never lose Wormy. And so I think that's kind of the same idea. You don't want to coddle your child, but you do want to make sure, you know, that they have what they need. And like I said, it's challenging, it's difficult. There's a lot involved, but at the end of the day, you know, puts his arm around me and we cuddle in bed, and I kiss him and I give him a little ugga mugga, a little Eskimo kiss, and we tell stories, and we stretch our children, and that's a discussion for another day. Bringing out the best in our children, whether they're typical or have autism, finding their likes, and I thank you very kindly. This is Debra Wallace, and we will chat again.